CreepyCorner stories.
Hey folks, before we dive into tonight's stories, I want to give a huge thank you to Kieran Tibbetts and Lisa Collin for supporting the channel and being amazing members. And also, I will mention Paul Viglione 3278 for commenting on every video and somehow showing up in one of my stories. If you who are watching this video want shout out in the next video, make sure to leave a comment down below. If you'd like to help me keep creating these stories, feel free to become a member. It really helps the channel grow. I'm planning to continue exploring more than just the dark web tales, so if you enjoy what you hear tonight, you're in the right place. Now, grab your headphones, turn off the lights, and let's step into another amazing night. I joined a dark web forum about reincarnation. They sent me a birth certificate with my name from 1972. If you're reading this, don't look for it. Don't try to find the forum. It'll find you. Alright, so let me just start this off by saying I'm not into horror movies. I don't go hunting for weird paranormal stuff. I'm literally just a normal dude in his 20s, living in Chicago, working a boring job in a call center, scrolling Reddit and TikTok after work like everyone else. But what happened to me wasn't fiction. It wasn't a prank. And I don't think I'm going to be alive much longer to finish telling this story unless I get it out now. So here's part 1. It all started a few months ago, mid-July 2025. The night it started was normal. I was in my apartment alone. My roommate Alex had gone to see his girlfriend, and I was just chilling, scrolling through YouTube shorts, watching those animated true horror stories at like 3 a.m. You know the ones, the creepy voice, the slightly off animation, titles like, "She ordered Uber Eats, what she found in the bag will haunt you forever." Those always get me, and I was kinda half watching, half thinking, man, they're all fake, but they hit different at night. Then I clicked on one called, "I Found My Own Grave" online. It started off like all the others. Girl browsing some shady corners of the internet finds her name on a list of confirmed souls, whatever that means. But then she mentioned something that made me pause. She said the list was hosted on a site called thewombback.net. Now, I'm tech savvy. I've messed with the deep web before, mostly out of curiosity. I've used Tor, visited random forums, checked out conspiracy threads, but nothing crazy. I don't buy drugs or hitmen or anything insane. I just like rabbit holes. So I'm sitting there and I pause the video. I go, is that even real? I opened Tor, typed thewombback.net, and to my surprise, it loaded. Not instantly, but after a minute or two. The site looked ancient, just plain white text on a black screen. No images, no logos, just a blinking cursor and a header that read, "The womb is open. We remember who you were. Enter the name you were before." I remember actually chuckling out loud. I thought it was an ARG or some edgy Tumblr code thing. So, half joking, I typed, "Ethan Rivers, my name." The screen flickered, then it showed, "Error. Unknown soul. Search by new name. YN." Now I was intrigued. I typed Y. It asked for a username and email. I gave a burner one I use for sketchy sites. Nothing tied to my real info. Then it brought me to a forum. Think old school Reddit meets creepy live journal. The top post was called, "Those Who Remember the Blue Room." It had 4,289 upvotes and hundreds of comments. People were sharing dreams, visions, weird moments from childhood where they remembered their death. Stuff like, my mom found me under the bed, whispering in German. I've never spoken German. I've had a recurring dream of being drowned in a bathtub. My cousin later told me her sister died that way in 1972. Anyone else get random flashes of a yellow house with a red swing? I've never lived in one. It was like an entire community of people who believed they'd lived before. But it wasn't spiritual, like reincarnation forums normally are. It felt clinical, like they were logging evidence. I clicked on one user's profile. Her name was Cicada Baby 77, and her posts were deeply unsettling. She had been documenting what she called soul data extractions, dreams that she said weren't dreams, but fragments of a previous imprint. She posted screenshots of maps. One of them was of rural Ohio. Another was a scan of what looked like a school yearbook from 1973. She circled a face and wrote, "This was me. I died in the house fire." I remember waking up in the closet, choking. Still, I figured it was creative writing, or LARPING. But the next morning, something weird happened. I got a letter, a physical letter, mailed to my actual apartment. No return address, just my name. And inside was a birth certificate. Issued May 3rd, 1972. Name, Ethan Rivers. Place of birth, Tacoma, Washington. Mother Catherine June. Rivers. Father, unknown. My hand started shaking. I checked the paper, front and back. It looked old, but not ancient. The ink was slightly faded. It smelled like an attic. The worst part, the handwriting on the envelope looked like mine, but not exactly. Like someone trying to mimic my style of writing, or like how I used to write back in high school before I changed my handwriting style sophomore year. I asked my roommate if he was pranking me. He wasn't even home when it arrived. Then things got worse. That night, I went back to the site, and now it had a message waiting for me. Your return is registered. We will be in touch. There was a new button, Request Memory Extraction. I didn't click it. Instead, I closed my laptop and tried to forget the whole thing. But that's when the dream started. At first, they were fuzzy. Faces and smoke. A red carpet. The smell of burnt wood. But then, I saw her. A girl with wet black hair. No face. Just teeth. Standing in a hallway that looked like a 70s style motel. Behind her, the number 311. She didn't speak. She just pointed at me. And every time I tried to wake up, I couldn't move. Sleep paralysis. I'd never had it before. When I finally did snap out of it, I had this sharp pain behind my left eye, like a hot needle. And on my nightstand was a Polaroid of me, standing in front of a motel door. Room 311, wearing clothes I'd never owned, and written on the back, in the same old handwriting, "We remember." Do you? I haven't told anyone this in real life, because I know how insane it sounds. But there's more. So much more. Someone or something is trying to make me remember who I used to be. And it's not just dreams anymore. People are watching me. But a warning. If you've ever had a dream about drowning, burning, or being born into the wrong body, you might already be on the list too. Some places were never meant to be visited twice. Some lives never wanted to be lived again. Alright, so after the Polaroid showed up on my nightstand, the one of me standing outside some cheap-ass motel room labeled 311, I should have done what any sane person would do and just walked away. Burn it, delete everything, move on. But I didn't. I couldn't. I wish to God I had, because what happened next didn't feel like a story. It felt like being dragged underwater by something cold and ancient, while everyone else just kept swimming around you like nothing was wrong. It was 2 nights after the Polaroid appeared. I barely slept since then. When I closed my eyes, I'd see flashes, green wallpaper, floral curtains soaked in something dark, the hum of a TV playing static in an empty room. The dreams weren't dreams. They were memories, but not mine. They felt rehearsed, like muscle memory, like my brain knew these places and these smells long before I was ever born. Anyway, around 11 p.m., I was scrolling on my phone, trying to distract myself with mindless TikToks when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but then I saw the message. Room 311 is open. The womb remembers. You left something behind. I stared at it for a good minute, and then another message came. This time, with a link. No text. Just http://bit.ly/311resurgence. I tapped it. I know. I'm an idiot, but it didn't load some virus or phishing scam. It opened a map. Google Maps. Drop a pin. Motel 9, Joliet, Illinois. About 40 minutes outside of Chicago. The photo attached to the pin showed the exact door from the Polaroid. Same wallpaper, same crooked numbers, same rust on the doorknob. Room 311. I couldn't believe what I was doing, but some part of me, the part that felt wired for this, knew I was going. I didn't even text my roommate. I didn't pack anything. I just grabbed my keys, threw on a hoodie, and drove. The whole way there, the radio kept glitching, playing songs I swear don't exist. Lyrics like, "The soul returns in skin unknown. The body burns, the seed is sown." I turned it off, drove the rest in silence. I pulled into the parking lot at exactly 12:42 a.m. Motel 9 looked like every creepy murder spot from every horror YouTube animation ever. You know what I mean. Flickering neon sign, front office closed, vending machine blinking, out of order. Not a single car in the lot, but room 311's light was on. The door was open. And this part, I haven't even told the cops, because I know how it sounds. As I stepped up to the door, I could feel heat. Not like summer heat, like fire, like standing near a burning oven. The room smelled like burnt plastic and flowers. Inside, it looked old. Not just run down, but stuck in time. Like nothing had been touched since 1973. Yellowed phone, floral curtains, CRT television buzzing on static, and on the bed, there was a mannequin. Not a doll, a full-size human mannequin. Female, dressed in what looked like a nurse's outfit, but it was soaked in something dark brown. The mouth was stitched shut with black thread, eyes wide open. There was a sticky note taped to its forehead. It read, "You watched her die." I swear on everything. I staggered back, heart pounding so hard I felt it in my teeth. Then the TV flickered. The static cleared for half a second. I saw something, my own face, but older, hair slicked back, wearing a suit, holding something in my hand, a lighter. I looked, proud. The image glitched, gone. I don't remember driving home. I really don't. It's a blank. The next thing I knew, I was in my bed, shoes still on, room spinning. My phone had 43 missed calls, all from unknown number. The day after, everything changed. I got fired from my job, not because I skipped work. I didn't. I was there. I remember logging in, answering calls, making notes. But my boss called me into her office, looked me dead in the eye and said, "You haven't worked here in 6 months." She pulled up my employee file. Terminated, March 2025. No explanation. Even my ID badge didn't scan anymore. Security escorted me out. I checked my bank app. My account was gone. Not empty. Gone. Like I never had an account to begin with. My email, locked. Instagram, deleted. Twitter, suspended. Even my birth certificate, the real one, had vanished from my apartment. The only thing left was the one they sent me. Tacoma, Washington. I went back to the forum, but it was different now. No login, no welcome page, just a black screen. One line of text. He is remembering faster than expected. And then a new thread popped up, posted by Cicada Baby 77. Thread title, When Ethan Lit the Fire. I clicked it. It was a detailed story, almost like a police report, but written like someone was watching, not past tense, present tense, like it was happening again. He breaks in through the back. No gloves. He's done this before. The girl is asleep. She doesn't wake until the curtains are burning. She screams, but it's too late. He watches her silhouette melt through the glass. Her teeth. The last thing to go. I backed away from my screen. That's when I noticed the smell. Smoke. Not in my apartment. On me. My hoodie. My hair. My hands. It smelled like gasoline and ash. I hadn't been near fire. I swear on my life. Things unraveled fast. My roommate never came back. His room? Empty. Like he'd never lived there. No clothes. No toothbrush. Even his PS5 was gone. I called his number. Disconnected. I DM'd his girlfriend on TikTok. Account not found. I went to his Instagram. Instead of his face on the profile pic, it was a black egg. The bio just read, "Shed the skin. He's almost ready." I packed a bag and left the apartment that night. Haven't gone back. I'm writing this from a public library. Laptop borrowed. VPN on. Burner email. But they still find me. Every night, around 3:11 a.m., I get a call. The ringtone doesn't play. It just vibrates. I answer once. Only once. And I heard her. The girl. The one from the dream. From the fire. But this time, she wasn't screaming. She was laughing. Slow. Ragged. Wet. Then she whispered, "You did it. You always do it. That's why they let you come back." That's when it hit me. This wasn't about being reincarnated. It wasn't karma. It was punishment. Or worse, privilege. I wasn't someone new. I was someone old. Someone worse. They weren't making me remember because I was lost. They were making me remember because I belonged. And last night, I got a final package, wrapped in brown paper. No return address. Inside, a VHS tape, a matchbox, and a single baby tooth. Mine. I know it was mine. There's a filling in the back I still remember crying about in 2007. The tooth had words carved into it. She remembers. Now you do too. I'm posting this now because I don't know what happens next. But the forum, it's watching. So if you get the message, if you dream of places you've never been, if someone sends you a name that sounds too familiar, don't go looking. Don't follow the pin. Don't open room 311, because some doors aren't haunted. They're waiting, and they only open for the ones who lit the match. When I opened the package with the VHS tape, I almost laughed. I don't even own a VHS player. Nobody does anymore. It was just one more impossible thing in a week of impossible things. But later that night, while I was crashing on a friend's couch, friend might be the wrong word, really just a guy from work who hadn't blocked my number yet, he mentioned his parents still had an old combo TV/VCR in their basement. So the next morning, before he woke up, I drove to his place and borrowed it. He didn't even notice. The VCR smelled like dust and cedar when it powered on. The tape itself had no label, just a red sticker with the number 311 written in ballpoint pen. When I pushed it in, the screen filled with static, and then an image blinked into focus. A living room, brown carpet, heavy floral curtains, a coffee table stacked with TV guide magazines from 1973. It wasn't footage from a movie. It looked like home video, but way too clear for something that old, like it had been filmed yesterday, with filters to make it look aged. The camera drifted slowly until it stopped at a mirror on the wall, and in that mirror, I saw myself. Not a lookalike, not someone similar. Me. Same scar on my chin, same chipped front tooth, same hoodie I was wearing right then. Except in the reflection, I was moving while the real camera view stayed still. The reflection version of me lifted a lighter and flicked it on. I swear I could feel the heat from the screen. Then he whispered something I couldn't make out. I turned up the volume, and the speakers crackled before the words came through. Quiet, but clear. We burned it down, so you wouldn't have to remember. The screen cut to black. Then the sound of breathing. Long, slow, human breathing, right behind the camera. I hit eject. The tape wouldn't come out. I tried again. Nothing. The player just hummed, the tape still spinning, even though the screen was black, and the breathing didn't stop. I unplugged the VCR, and the breathing kept playing. That was when I noticed something new on the screen. Not video, but text, white on black. Look behind you. I did. There was nothing there. When I turned back, the TV showed a single frozen frame. My bedroom, the one in my old apartment. But on the bed was the mannequin from the motel. Same sewn mouth, same dark stains. Except this time, her head was turned toward the camera, and her hand, her plastic hand, was pointing at the nightstand. That night, I stayed at a 24-hour Starbucks near the highway. I thought maybe being around people would keep whatever this was from following me. Around 2 a.m., while I was nursing my third cold brew, I noticed a woman sitting at the far end of the cafe, facing away from everyone else. She had the same wet black hair as the girl from my dreams. I tried to tell myself I was just paranoid, that it was a coincidence. But when she got up to throw something away, she left her phone on the table. The lock screen image made my stomach drop. It was a photo of me, standing in that motel room, next to the mannequin. I didn't even think. I bolted out of there and drove until sunrise. Every morning since then, something small has changed. A freckle on the wrong side of my face, a scar on my wrist that wasn't there the night before. I looked up, Motel 9, Joliet, Illinois, room 311, on Google again, just to convince myself it still existed. But the search results were different. The motel had burned down in 1973. There were newspaper clippings archived online. One headline read, "Local man dies trying to save woman from motel fire." The photo in the article showed a man's silhouette through smoke. If you zoomed in on the reflection in the glass door, you could make out part of his face. My face. The forum came back online 2 days ago. No login this time, just a single post titled, "The replication is complete." Inside the post was a live stream link. When I clicked it, it showed a view of my friend's basement. The same place I borrowed the VCR from. The same TV, still unplugged. Except the tape had ejected itself. And on the floor next to it was another package. My name written on the front in thick black marker. The live stream kept looping, the camera moving closer to the box every time, even though no one was there to move it. Last night, I got a notification from my phone's Files app. New video saved. 311 return.mp4. I didn't film anything. I didn't even open the camera. The video is 2 minutes long. Frame 1, my face, asleep, filmed from a few inches away. Frame 2, my eyes open. Frame 3, someone behind the camera whispers, "You're back." Then the screen cuts to static. But right before it ends, there's a single still frame of that burned motel, fully restored, lights on, vacancy sign glowing, and on the door, a reflection that isn't mine. I haven't slept since. I don't know what's real anymore. If any of you see a link for the womb back on tour, don't click it. If you get a letter with a birth certificate inside, don't open it. And if you ever find a VHS tape with a red sticker marked 311, throw it away. Or better yet, bury it. Because once it plays, it doesn't stop. Even when the screen goes black, it keeps recording. And the next face it shows breathing on the other side of the glass might be yours. I didn't plan to go back to Tacoma. It wasn't some brave decision or a movie moment where I decided to face my past. It was just that every road I took seemed to bend that direction anyway. Literally. Every time I opened Google Maps, no matter what address I entered, workplace, gas station, even just Starbucks, the blue navigation line rerouted itself west. Always west. Always toward Washington. At first, I thought my GPS was glitching. Then I borrowed a different phone. Same result. So eventually, I stopped fighting it. I bought an old used car off Facebook Marketplace, deleted every app, and started driving. The drive took 3 days. During the day, everything felt almost normal. Highways, podcasts, truck stops. But at night, the world got weird. The sky went the wrong color. Too orange, too static. Street signs had words rearranged, like letters refused to stay in order. Every time I pulled over to sleep, my dreams kept looping back to the same place. A 2-story house with the green siding and a front porch light that flickered. I never went inside in the dream, but I always heard a noise coming from the basement, something that sounded halfway between crying and breathing through water. When I finally reached Tacoma, my GPS announced destination ahead, even though I hadn't typed anything in for hours. And there it was, the house from the dream. It looked abandoned, but not decayed, like someone had hit pause on time in 1973 and never hit play again. The grass was too green. The curtains were drawn, but clean. The porch light flickered, the exact rhythm from my dream. A for sale sign sat half buried in the yard. The phone number on it only had 7 digits. No area code. I parked and walked up the steps. My hands were shaking so bad that the wood creaked before I even touched the door. When I knocked, the sound echoed wrong, like the house was hollow inside, but also huge, like knocking on a cave. No answer. I tried the knob. It turned easily. The air inside smelled like rain and burnt cinnamon. I don't know how else to describe it, except that it felt familiar, like walking into a memory you never had. The living room was arranged exactly like the room on the VHS tape. Same brown carpet, same floral curtains, same mirror on the wall. I looked at my reflection and half expected it to blink. It didn't. But the room behind my reflection was different. Furniture missing, wallpaper peeling, daylight coming from the wrong window. Then I noticed something new in the reflection. A thin trail of smoke, rising slowly behind me. I turned around. Nothing. Turned back. Smoke thicker now. The smell of burnt cinnamon grew sharper, choking. I stumbled toward the hallway, and saw a faint red light leaking from under the basement door. I told myself I wouldn't go down there. I really did. But the moment I thought about leaving, the front door slammed shut by itself. So I went down. The stairs felt longer than they should have been, like walking down a parking garage ramp that never ends. The red light kept pulsing, slow and steady, in time with my heartbeat. At the bottom, I found a rotary phone sitting on a crate, ringing softly. The sound wasn't coming from a speaker. It was coming from the air around me, vibrating in my chest. I picked it up. "Ethan," a voice said, calm, familiar. "You left before we finished." My mouth went dry. "Who are you?" "You know me. You watched me die. I forgave you." Then the line filled with static, and a second voice, deeper, almost mechanical, spoke over it. "The replication is failing." The host remembers. The red light flickered out. When it came back, the basement wasn't empty anymore. The walls were lined with photographs, hundreds of them, all of me. Different ages, different decades, 1970s, 1990s, last week, some in color, some black and white. In every photo, I was standing in front of a fire, and in every single one, someone else's hand rested on my shoulder. I grabbed one photo at random. It was dated May 3rd, 1972. Same day as the birth certificate. Written on the back, "He keeps returning because he never learns." The basement door slammed above me. I ran up the stairs, but when I reached the top, I wasn't in the house anymore. I was in my apartment in Chicago. Except it was wrong. Everything mirrored, left swapped with right. The city outside the window was on fire, silent flames moving without smoke. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. A child's voice whispered, "We found the rest of the tape." Then the call ended. That night, while I was trying to convince myself I hadn't lost my mind, an email notification popped up on my laptop from support@thewomb.back.net. Subject: Delivery confirmation. 311 series complete. No body text, just an attachment. Rebirth certificate.pdf. When I opened it, it looked like my original birth certificate, but updated. Date of birth: May 3rd, 2025. Place of birth: Joliet, Illinois. Mother: N.A. Father: Ethan Rivers. I stared at it for a long time before I noticed the faint reflection on my laptop screen. Someone standing behind me. I spun around. Nobody there, but the reflection stayed, and it smiled. Every electronic screen I own now shows that same faint reflection, not following, just waiting. Sometimes it moves when I don't. Sometimes it mouths words I can't hear. I haven't been back to Tacoma since, but every map, every GPS, every auto suggest tries to take me there again. The house isn't listed online anymore. Zillow shows an empty lot, but satellite view still shows the roof, smoke rising from the chimney. I think the forum was never about reincarnation at all. I think it was about replication, copying a consciousness over and over until the copy forgets it's a copy. And every time the experiment fails, they start the next version somewhere else. Maybe that's what they mean by rebirth. Maybe that's why the basement was full of photos, because each one was a version of me that remembered too much. And every time I start to understand what's happening, the world resets, burns down, starts over, erases everyone who could prove I ever existed. If you're reading this and the link ever finds you, don't click it. If the map points west, no matter what you type, don't follow it. And if you ever dream of a house with green siding and a flickering porch light, wake up, because if you walk inside, you won't come back out as you. you'll come out as the next copy. And when you do, the porch light will stop flickering. It'll stay solid, because the house will finally have what it's been waiting for. You. There was only one thing left to do. I logged in. After everything, the motel, the tape, the mirror, the house, I told myself I'd never go back to the womb back. I deleted Tor, scrubbed my browser, tossed the laptop that first took me there. But some sites don't care about deletion. They live in between browsers, in cache, in memory fragments you can't touch with a mouse. So when I opened my phone last week, the site was already loaded. Black background, white text, one thread, no username, no title, just a blinking cursor. I tapped it, and it opened the final post, the one I think they made just for me. Thread, reintegration complete. Date, October 18th, 2025, 3:11 a.m. Author, N. A post, autoplayed audio file. I didn't touch anything. The audio started playing on its own, and even before a word was spoken, I felt sick. Like whatever was about to be said, I already knew it. The voice was male, calm, almost kind, but flat, robotic, like a therapist who didn't care what you felt, only that you understood. You are now occupying the final stage of memory regrowth. Your previous imprints have been deemed incomplete. This version is the closest to original. Then a pause, then static, then another voice, younger, angrier, hoarse, like someone who'd screamed for hours and forgotten why. You're not supposed to remember everything. You're not supposed to get this far. And then the screen glitched. The form dissolved into thousands of lines of data, flickering and reshaping into something else. It was a layout, like the back end of a website. Admin access. There were tabs labeled Soul Logs, Imprint Data, Full Partial, Failed Reintegration, Live Replicas, Active. I clicked on the last one. A list appeared. Thousands of names, maybe tens of thousands. Each one had 3 timestamps next to it. Birth, attempted, memory, trigger reversion status. Some said unresponsive. Others said archived. One near the top said volatile, uncontained. And next to it, Ethan Rivers. Me. Except there were 3 of me. Same name, different IDs. One from 1972, one from 1999, and one from 2025. All marked failure, looping. That's when the screen started typing on its own. Lines of text poured in like code spilling from a broken dam. He saw too much. We gave him the motel, the nurse, the room. He still persisted. Initiate environmental regression. Begin self-dissolution. The browser crashed. My phone shut off and wouldn't turn back on. I haven't slept since. I don't mean that like, oh, I've been up all night. I mean, I literally cannot sleep anymore. Every time I close my eyes, I don't dream. I drop. I drop into another life. Sometimes I'm a child, burning in a crib. Sometimes I'm an old man locked in a hospital basement. Sometimes I'm sitting in room 311, watching myself on the TV, telling me things I'm not ready to hear. And every time I come back, I've lost something. 2 days ago, I forgot my mother's name. I tried to write it down, and my hand just stopped, mid-letter, like it refused to finish. Yesterday, I found a photo album in a thrift store downtown. One of those beat-up, sticky-paged old ones people dump when they clean out their attic. Inside, there were pictures of me, not people who looked like me. Me, in a wedding, on a beach, holding a child I don't know, standing in front of a burning school bus. All of them stamped with different years, different decades, but in every photo, no matter the date, I never aged, and in every one, There was someone behind me, always just out of focus, their face blurred, but their mouth always open, screaming, or maybe laughing. 3 nights ago, I went to the police. I showed them everything, the certificate, the photo album, the VHS. The detective just stared at me, then asked calmly, "Do you remember who you were before the motel?" I froze. He smiled and wrote something on a sticky note before handing it to me. It was a username, Cicada Baby 77. He winked and said, "You were always better at forgetting. That's why they used you the most." I left. I haven't been back since. I don't know if he was real. I don't know if I am. Tonight, I went to a McDonald's to use their Wi-Fi, just to check, just to see if the womb back was gone for good. It wasn't. It was faster now, sleek, polished. The landing page said, "Welcome back, Ethan. Ready for your next imprint?" And below that, a drop-down menu. Choose your birth year. It let me scroll as far back as 1937, as far forward as 2074. There was no logout button, just 2 options: reset, accept. I closed the browser. The screen still showed the buttons. Even after I unplugged the laptop, the screen stayed on. The buttons moved slightly, like breathing. I'm not in control anymore. I don't know if I ever was. I think the womb back was never a forum. It was an interface, a bridge between lives, a machine that copies, not bodies, but souls. And I wasn't the first Ethan Rivers. I was just the most persistent. Maybe I'm not even a person at all, just a backup, a ghost in a long line of reboots that keeps getting closer to remembering the truth. And the truth is this: I was never reborn. I was manufactured, and the person I used to be, they burned for a reason. Now I'm just the smoke that won't fade. If you've made it this far, if you've read everything, you're already being copied. You've been on the womb back this whole time. Reading it, was using it. You scrolled, you clicked, you imagined room 311. That's enough. Now it knows your shape. Now it knows how you breathe. So if you wake up tomorrow and the mirror doesn't quite reflect you, right? If someone calls your name and your skin feels like it's borrowed, you already hit accept. Welcome. I got a dark web offer to watch a prisoner. The prisoner is ex-military Solidar from failed project. His story is being posted in parts. Everything I'm about to share is 100% real to my experience. I don't expect anyone to believe me, but if you've ever been on the dark web, you might already know how deep this rabbit hole goes. I'll just say this: if someone ever offers you money to watch someone over livestream, don't. Not even once. $3,500 a week to watch a prisoner. Posted by you/Donotanza96. So, yeah, this all started like 2 months ago. I'm 28, I live alone, and at the time, I'd just gotten laid off from a graphic design gig in Austin. Rent was bleeding me dry, and DoorDash wasn't cutting it. I'd been on Reddit and Discord a lot, lurking in some of those how to make money online threads. Most of it was scams, crypto bros, MLMs, OnlyFans recruiters, you name it. But late one night, after doom scrolling through a weird subreddit that doesn't exist anymore, I got a DM on Discord. You seem trustworthy. Want to earn $3,500 a week for remote surveillance work. At first, I thought it was a bot, but then they dropped a username that matched my Reddit handle. They also mentioned I was recently active in a thread called r/freelance gigs _dark, which, yeah, it was sketchy, and I shouldn't have clicked half the stuff there. I responded, sounds fake. What's the catch? What I got back still freaks me out. No catch. All you have to do is log into a secure feed once a day for 6 hours. Watch the prisoner. Take notes. Report anomalies I didn't respond. Next morning, I woke up to a PayPal notification. $250 received. Note. Preview of services. Yeah, I know. I should have run. I should have blocked and reported them. But rent was due. And curiosity? It gets you every time. So I messaged back. Okay, I'm listening. They sent me a .onion link, a login credential, and a warning. Do not attempt to communicate with the subject. Do not turn off the feed. Do not look away during his active hours, 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. They were dead serious. This wasn't some prank or ARG. The level of detail was military grade. The site looked like it was built by people who knew what they were doing. Industrial layout, secure login, no flash, no branding. I signed in around 9 p.m. my time. What I saw was a single camera feed, grainy and monochrome, fixed in the corner of what looked like a concrete room. The walls were dark gray. There was a metal bed bolted to the floor. No windows. One heavy-duty door with a reinforced hatch. And in the center of the room, just sitting there with his head down, was this huge dude, maybe late 30s or 40s, military haircut, muscles like tree trunks, covered in tattoos that looked like serial numbers or old army markings. But his face, something about it just didn't sit right. He looked like someone who'd seen war or been made for war. They called him Subject 037. I watched for hours that first night. He barely moved, just sat there, breathing, watching the floor like he was trying not to exist. Every now and then, he'd twitch, like someone having sleep paralysis while awake. I thought I'd fallen asleep around 2:30 a.m., but at exactly 3 a.m., he stood up. I swear to God, he just stood up and walked to the center of the room like it was rehearsed. He stared straight into the camera. No, scratch that. He looked into me, through the feed. Then he said something, but there was no sound. He mouthed the words, "He watches you back." I jumped out of my chair. I had goosebumps down my spine. I thought maybe the feed had audio, and I missed it. But when I checked the source settings, no mic feed, only video. At 4:01 a.m., he laid back down, right on schedule. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I got another PayPal notification, $500. A message came through my Discord. Good work. Ready for night 2? I should have said no, but I said, what's his backstory? They responded, decommissioned U.S. military project. Black site. Cancelled after Geneva violations. Subject classified as failed. Still active. Containment necessary. Dude. I read that message 5 times. I was watching a human weapon locked in a cage. A real one. Not a movie. But then they sent a second message. You're the 4th watcher. All others violated rules. You're the longest to make it to night 2. I logged back in that night, same time. Everything looked normal, except this time, I noticed something new. There were scratch marks along the wall. I hadn't seen them the night before. Deep, almost like claw marks, but shaped like tally marks. I counted. 36. At 3 a.m., Subject 037 got up again, but this time, he wasn't looking at me. He was smiling and holding something. It was a tooth. His own tooth. Pulled out. still dripping blood. He walked to the wall and carved a 37th mark. I closed the feed early. I shouldn't have. My phone buzzed instantly. Unknown number. You looked away. How the hell did they know? That night, when I went to McDonald's around 5 a.m. just to get out of my apartment, I noticed something. A car, black SUV, tinted windows, parked across from my building. When I walked back in, it was gone. I didn't even eat. I just sat there, checking my windows, looking at every passing car. Then my Discord lit up. You've been flagged for possible non-compliance. You'll be reviewed by admin. Do not speak to others about the feed. Do not attempt to locate the source of subject 037. Admin sees all. I'm going to say this once, and only once, before I dive into what happened next. Nothing you're about to read is exaggerated. Nothing is fictional. I still haven't processed half of it, but I've got it all saved. Logs, footage, even the emergency room documentation. I'm not doing this for karma. I'm doing this because whatever's down there, in that room, isn't human anymore. You wanted the raw version. You wanted the part that makes people stop sleeping with the lights off and throw their webcam in a drawer. You're going to get it. But don't say I didn't warn you. Night 3, the body in the corner. After I broke the no looking away rule, in part 1, I got flagged. But instead of banning me, the admins upgraded my access. They gave me a second feed. I didn't even know there was another feed. It loaded up next to the first one, like a split screen. Same room, but different angle. And that's when I saw it. There was a body in the corner, half-dressed, slumped forward, hands zip-tied behind its back, head twisted at a completely wrong angle. I hadn't seen it before because the main feed was placed perfectly to hide it. Almost like the angle was intentional, like they didn't want me to know there had been someone in there before. I stared at it for what felt like forever. The body was fresh, maybe 2 to 3 days old max. The skin wasn't even turning yet. I sent a message to the handler. "Who is that?" Their reply came in instantly. "The third watcher." That made my stomach flip. I just stared at the screen, cold sweat dripping down my back, trying to make it make sense. I thought I was just some guy behind a screen. I didn't know there were others who had been in that room. Had he been brought there as punishment? Had they watched too long? I couldn't stop staring at the body's twisted face, lips torn, mouth still open, like it died mid-scream. Eyes missing, as in scooped out, not surgically, like someone dug into the sockets with their bare fingers. And that's when subject 037 stood up. Except this time, it was 2:13 a.m., not 3. He was breaking his pattern. He walked over to the body in the corner, slow and deliberate, like every joint in his body creaked with restrained violence. And then he crouched down, placed his hand gently on the corpse's shoulder, then dragged his finger up the back of the man's skull and slipped it under the skin like it was paper. He peeled. I watched in full 1080p as subject 037 began to peel the scalp off this body like it was a Halloween mask. No hesitation, no effort, just quiet, methodical removal, like he'd done it 100 times. I was frozen, mouth open, couldn't move, couldn't look away. And then, for the first time, the speakers crackled to life. Subject 037 spoke, except the voice wasn't his. It was someone else's. It was my voice. "Do not look away," it said, mimicking me from a Discord voice chat 2 nights ago. "Do not look away." Again, same cadence, like it had memorized my voice from the mic. I reached over and slammed the power button on my monitor. I know. I broke the rule again. But I panicked. That wasn't a prisoner. That wasn't even a person anymore. That was something else. Something that had learned how to be human. And it had just warned me like a mask. The Starbucks incident. I needed air. I didn't even put shoes on. I threw on a hoodie and ran out to the Starbucks, 5 blocks from my apartment. It's one of those 24-hour ones in downtown Austin near the university. I sat in the back corner, breathing into my sleeve, trying not to throw up. At 4:04 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. No caller ID. I shouldn't have answered, but I did. Do not abandon your post, the voice said. Not text to speech. Not robotic. My voice. I stood up, knocking my drink over. Every person in that Starbucks stopped and stared at me, all at once, like they'd been waiting for me to react. That was the first time I noticed something was wrong with reality itself. The baristas weren't blinking. The guy behind the counter had blood under his fingernails. One girl was stirring her coffee with a used Band-Aid instead of a straw. And no one, not one person, was typing on their laptop, even though there were at least 7 MacBooks open around me. I left my drink, my wallet, everything, and ran. Night 4, escape attempt. They forced me back online the next night. Literally. My computer turned itself on at 8:59 p.m. Monitor lit up without input. Mouse started moving on its own. The feed loaded automatically. They called it mandatory compliance reinstated. That night, I saw something I wasn't supposed to. Subject 037 tried to escape. At 3:03 a.m., the lights in the room began to flicker. First slow, then fast. The power surged. Sparks shot from one corner. The reinforced door clicked. Unlocked. He stood, waited, then ran full force at the door. When I say ran, I mean blasted into that door with the full force of a military truck. The kind of force that should have broken his neck. But it didn't. It bent the frame. And from the hallway outside the feed, for the first time, I heard other voices, screaming, shouting, gunfire. It wasn't a regular team either. These guys were armed with stuff I'd only seen in sci-fi movies. Sonic rifles, arc blade tasers, riot gear with personal EMP pulses built into their backs. They never got inside. 037 waited behind the door like a predator behind glass. When they finally breached, he ripped the first guy's leg off at the hip before the door even opened fully. I watched him grab a second man by the jaw and push his thumb into his face until the bone cracked like an eggshell. No blood, just splatter, like someone crushed a watermelon filled with raw steak. But the scariest part? He wasn't fighting to escape. He was collecting. He took a rifle, a helmet, a watch. Then he calmly walked back into the room, closed the door, and sat back down. That's when the new tally mark appeared. Except this time, it wasn't scratched. It was burned into the wall. Number 38. The 4th feed. They gave me one more feed after that. No explanation, no warning. This one wasn't the cell. It was my apartment, live, real time, from my ceiling corner, and subject 037 was in it, standing, just outside the bathroom, watching the camera. That's when I realized he wasn't locked in with us. We're locked in with him. They don't need to keep him in that cell. They just want us to watch, because if we watch, we become part of it, part of the containment loop. And once you're part of it, the rules change. You don't get to leave. You don't get to stop. You just get moved down the list. And the scariest thing, they stopped paying me because now I work for them. This is the part where people usually stop reading, not because it's boring, because once you know what I know, the idea of going back to your regular life, grabbing Starbucks, scrolling TikTok, taking a shower alone at night, becomes impossible. Because once you've seen what I saw, you realize the rules are wrong. Reality doesn't work the way you think. And some things, some people, were never supposed to exist. And if you watch them long enough, they start watching you. Your skin score has dropped. After the fourth feed showed me live footage of myself in my apartment, I ripped my entire setup apart. I'm talking power cables yanked, surge protectors thrown, RAM sticks pulled out with trembling hands. I even took a steak knife and stabbed my webcam over and over until the lens shattered and I saw my own cracked reflection in the spiderweb of glass. I don't remember falling asleep that night. I woke up in my bathtub wearing different clothes I didn't own. A pale green shirt with the letters TSGRP stitched into the sleeve. A wristband I couldn't take off. Plastic, medical looking, with a QR code and a blood type I've never been tested for. O negative. When I scanned the code with my phone, it took me to a page that simply read, Skin score, 88%. Watcher active. Status, pending transfer. What the hell is a skin score? The visit. That same day, around 6 p.m., someone buzzed my apartment from the front door. No name, just a long mechanical buzz that didn't stop. I watched through the peephole for a solid 3 minutes. No one was there, until the elevator opened behind the glass down the hall, and 4 people walked out in perfect silence. They weren't dressed like SWAT or cops, not even close. They were wearing blacked out suits, hospital scrubs underneath, and what looked like ceremonial masks, carved porcelain, featureless, except for deep slits at the mouth. Each one had a different number written on the neck. 037-1, 037-2, 037-3, and 1, with no number, just a symbol, a skinless face etched into a silver plate. They walked to my door without speaking, and they didn't knock. They just stood there, still, waiting. I backed into my bedroom, called 911, barely able to speak. The operator picked up on the second ring and said something that froze me. This number has been retired. Please return to the observation feed. Then, silence. I heard the front door click open, even though I had 5 different locks. But when I ran back out, they were gone. Door still locked. Everything exactly how I left it. Except, on my kitchen counter, there was a Ziploc bag. Inside it, a single human molar, a sticky note with the words, "You were never outside," and a second QR code. This one, when scanned, opened my camera. No website, just a black screen, and then a countdown. Transfer in 72 hours. Prepare skin. The 5th feed. I don't remember accepting it. I don't remember clicking any link. But the 5th feed appeared on its own, projected onto my ceiling at night, like a portable hologram, beaming from nowhere. The feed didn't show 037. It showed a holding room, different location, brighter lights, no furniture. In the middle of the room stood a person. They were naked except for a plastic apron, head shaved, face wrapped in clear surgical film, like they were trying to keep something in instead of out. On a tray beside them sat a scalpel, a mirror, and a printed headshot of me. When they turned to face the wall, I saw the skin on their back had been peeled, cleaned and hung like a curtain over a steel rack, each layer marked with a date. The most recent one? Tomorrow's date. The skin game. I started hearing whispers in my sleep, but not from dreams, from inside the walls. Every night at 3 a.m., the same hour subject 037 used to rise. The vents would start breathing, literally breathing. I could see my curtains sway with it, like the building was exhaling hot, rancid breath. One night, I pressed my ear to the wall. I heard voices, not just whispering, arguing, screaming, bargaining. Over what? Skin rights. That was the phrase I kept hearing. Apparently watchers like me were auctioned off once our score dropped below a certain threshold. Not for organs, not for ransom, for face rights, voice patterns, mannerisms, digital identity, and whoever won the bid got to become you. Fully, permanently, 37 in public. The last time I left my apartment was a week ago. I went to a Walgreens to buy sleeping pills and a burner phone. I was standing in line behind this girl, maybe college-aged, who was crying quietly while holding a prescription bag. Looked like she didn't want anyone to notice, but she kept looking over her shoulder like she knew someone was watching. When I stepped outside, I saw why. He was standing across the street. Not 037 exactly, but someone wearing his face. Perfectly. Same dead eyes, same slight tilt of the neck, except he was wearing a blue Targa polo, name tag and everything. Smiling. He turned around and vanished into a parked Uber. I followed that car on foot. 14 blocks. I don't even remember walking. When it stopped, it let out 5 different passengers, all wearing different versions of the same man. I'm not kidding. There were multiple 037s, different races, different builds, but all with the same dead gaze and the same subtle twitch in their left hand, like clones with masks stretched over real people, and each one walked in a different direction, into crowds, into restaurants, into homes, like they were living lives that weren't theirs. The last message. 2 nights ago, my screen turned on one last time. The feed was black, but text appeared slowly, line by line. You are no longer watching. You are now being trained. Skin integrity below acceptable threshold. Transfer process complete. Then the screen flashed. Welcome, subject 038. I haven't been able to leave my apartment since. My doorknobs don't turn. My windows show footage from months ago, like a looped video of the outside world. No planes, no birds, just silence. I don't know what day it is anymore. The calendar on my phone just says, day, observed, weather, skin, deep event, transfer, confirmed final entry, maybe. This post isn't a warning anymore. It's a receipt. Because when someone finds this story, and someone will, I need you to understand what happened here was engineered. Subject 037 was not the experiment. We were. Every person who watched that feed, every volunteer they paid, every curious Redditor who clicked too far, we were the medium. The real program was never about the prisoner. It was about what happens to the people who watch him for too long. We don't observe monsters. We become them. If you're reading this, you're already in it. That's not a threat. It's a fact. Because every single screen that displays the story, every phone, every monitor, every reflection you don't quite recognize, has become another node in the loop. And once it loops enough times, you're not watching me anymore. He's watching you. But I'll still tell you the rest. Not because I want to, because at this point, I can't stop. The reset. I woke up in an airport bathroom stall. No memory of getting there. No phone. No ID, wearing clothes that didn't belong to me. Again, I checked the mirror. It was my face, but not right. Slightly different jawline, eyes too wide, a mole that wasn't mine, and my skin too tight, like something was trying to hold it all in. When I stepped out of the store, I noticed the bathroom was completely empty. No sound, no running water. The motion sensor lights didn't react to me, like I wasn't there, until a voice spoke from the sink behind me, not from a speaker, from the drain. Skin score, invalid, resetting observer, welcome to tier 2. Then the lights shut off, tier 2. That's when I stopped being a watcher and became a subject. I don't mean they put me in a cell. I mean they threw me into a program, a place, maybe underground, maybe digital, maybe both. It doesn't matter. They called it the Gallery of Skin. Each hallway was lit by red strobes, and every room had a mirror on one wall and hooks on the other. On the hooks, faces, human, dried, stretched, preserved, like taxidermy, but worse. They weren't just souvenirs. They were alive, not moving, but watching. When I stepped into the second chamber, I swear on everything I have left, one of the faces mouthed something. Don't pick mine. That's when the curator entered, the collector. He didn't walk. He glided. White suit, bone white, so clean it hurt to look at. But his hands, they weren't hands. They were a pair of scissors fused into the bone. Surgical shears instead of fingers. The sound they made as he moved echoed like dry teeth tapping on a sink. Snip, snip, snip. He didn't speak at first. He just stood behind me, letting me look at the walls of hanging faces. Hundreds, some crying, some smiling, some screaming, forever frozen in that last moment. Then he whispered into my ear, the blades of his scissor hands gently clicking beside my neck. You wore that one last time. Try something new. He motioned to a face that looked weirdly familiar, like someone I'd passed on the street, or maybe a background blur in a YouTube video. A face you wouldn't remember until it was too late. He pulled it from the hook, held it in front of me, like a Halloween mask. This one belonged to Watcher 011. She broke protocol. She looked away. During the blackout event, he stepped closer. It still remembers the scream. Then he placed it gently over my own skin and pressed. I didn't feel pain. I felt displacement, like being shoved into a coffin already filled with someone else. When I looked into the mirror again, I wasn't me. I wasn't even her. I was something between, a third thing, a blend of memories and mistakes, and behind the reflection, watching, mimicking my movements, like a lagged video feed that catches up all at once. The transfer room. The next room was white, like hospital white, sterile, loud with a buzzing I could feel in my teeth. The walls were covered in fingerprints, thousands of them, each one stained in shades of red and brown and black. In the center of the room was a chair, metal, strapped, worn down by years of struggling. I was led to it. I didn't walk. I floated, like a patient in a dream you can't wake up from. Once strapped in, the collector spoke again, this time louder. He spoke to something above us. Subject prepared for overlay. Facial memory embedded. Vocal tone mapped. Watcher dissolved. Then a lens dropped from the ceiling. It scanned my face, my throat, my teeth. Then it whispered a word so low, I thought I imagined it. Transfer complete. When the lens pulled away, I saw a screen flicker on the far wall. It was a live stream of someone else's life. Someone eating lunch at a Pizza Hut, laughing with friends, wearing my old face, my smile, my nervous laugh. He looked into the camera by accident. And I knew it. He was using me. The replacement game. I was left in that chair for days, or maybe hours. Time doesn't move right in the gallery. I was force-fed footage. Dozens of me's, all stolen, all living other people's lives. One of them was a Twitch streamer. Another was a Starbucks barista in Seoul. One was even a TSA agent at LAX. All wearing different versions of my skin. All too happy, too empty, because they weren't me. They were copies, skinned replicas, and I was the source, the template, until I wasn't, the wake-up. When I woke up again, I was back in my apartment. Same chair, same broken webcam, same buzz in my ears. But everything felt off. My fridge was full of foods I hate. My walls had photos of people I don't know, smiling with arms around someone wearing my face. There was a cat I'd never seen before sitting on my bed. It stared at me like it knew I didn't belong here. And on my bathroom mirror, written in something too dark to be wine, the real you is dead. But you still owe skin. One last feed. Last night, I was forced onto one more stream. This time, I wasn't the watcher. I wasn't the subject. I was the collector. The screen showed your face. Yes, you. And beside your stream, a list of your search history. Dark web stream site real. How to watch hidden prisoner feed. Face identity transfer Reddit story. You don't remember searching those, do you? But you did. Or rather, someone wearing your face did. And now, you've looked too long. You've read too far. So here's your final skin score. 91% integrity. Weakening transfer. Pending replacement model. Ready. If you're still here, you've already been marked. Don't bother smashing your screen. Don't unplug your webcam. Don't scream. They already have your voice, your laughter, your reflection. All they need now is your permission. And by listening this far, I don't know where you are right now. Bedroom, office, scrolling in the back of an Uber with your earbuds in. Doesn't matter. Because after this, after you finish this last part, you'll stop feeling alone in the room. Not because someone walks in, because something else already has. It slipped behind your eyes when you started reading part 1. It licked the inside of your reflection in the screen when you smirked and said, "This is fake." It's been watching through you ever since. You ever feel your face twitch when you're not smiling? Ever catch yourself blinking, but your reflection doesn't? Welcome to the end. Where I woke up, I didn't escape. You need to understand that first. I didn't escape. I shifted. I came to in a place that looked like a museum, but smelled like bleach and rotted teeth. Rows of glass cases, fogged from the inside, like someone or something was breathing against the glass for years. Every case held a version of me. One smiling, one crying, one screaming into a mouth full of its own hair, and above each, a nameplate, except not names, just timestamps. Each one was the exact time I looked away from the feed. The walls weren't walls, they were skin, taut, stretched over concrete, tattooed with black barcodes. Some were still pulsing. A voice echoed over the intercom, smooth and cheerful, like an airline announcement. Transfer protocols engaged. Current user, observer, _038. Skin threshold met. Identity exceeded. Congratulations. You've been selected for permanent embodiment. I ran. I didn't care where. Past the cases. Past something that looked like an infant made of mirrors. Past a hallway where arms reached from the walls like they were growing from the bone. I found a stairwell. Every step was labeled, "No return." This is your last you. Every version below is closer to the original. I kept going. The original. At the bottom was a single steel door. No handle. Just a red slit where a face should be. When I got close, it spoke in my voice, but younger, lighter, hopeful. Please don't do this. You don't know what you're taking. I stared at the door. It didn't open. It breathed. The metal inhaled. I'm the version they erased. I'm what was left before the feed, before the transfer, before the watches turned into replacements. I'm the lost you. Then it asked the question I wasn't ready for. Do you want to remember what you really did? I shouldn't have said yes, but I did. The door peeled open like a mouth yawning. Inside was a chair, same model as before, strapped, surgical, soaked, and above it, something hanging from hooks. Not skin, not bone. Data, lines of code, voice patterns, pupil dilation rates, mapped by timestamp. Behavioral logs recorded from my first visit to the feed. And next to it, written in blood across the wall, you never watched him. He watched you first. The feed was your mirror. What they did to me, it wasn't about surveillance. It wasn't about observing a failed military experiment. Subject 037 wasn't a prisoner. He was a collector. The project was called MIMIC/PROXY. The goal wasn't to restrain a weapon. It was to feed it the identities of unstable people. People like me. People desperate enough to say yes to watching a prisoner for money. People who wouldn't be missed when they got replaced. Every second I watched that screen, it wasn't testing him. It was recording me. Every smile, every twitch, every reaction, mapped, modeled, stored. So when they were ready, they could build me somewhere else with better skin, better compliance, more obedient. The final room, the last room wasn't marked. I walked through the corridor made of eyes, thousands of them, all blinking independently, and entered what looked like an empty apartment. But I recognized it. It was mine. Down to the chipped coffee mug I broke last summer. Even the Spotify playlist was still open on the screen. I was home, except on the couch, wearing a hoodie I never bought, was me, the new me, version 038B. He turned his head and smiled, just as I stepped inside. Took you long enough. I've already lived most of your life better than you ever did. He reached into the hoodie and pulled out my old phone, still unlocked, still warm. You know they gave me your mother's contact. She said it's the first time in years you've sounded happy. He tossed it on the table. The screen still lit. I saw my texts, my social posts, my face, posted yesterday at a McDonald's in Florida, smiling, but I'm not in Florida. Then he stood up, walked over, and slowly reached out. He touched my shoulder, and as he did, I felt my face begin to slip, not metaphorically, physically, like it was trying to slide off, pulled toward him, like we were magnetic opposites, but made of the same base material. He whispered, "There can't be two of us." And with that, he stepped into me. You're the final host. When I woke up again, I was at home. Not mine. Yours. The walls are different. The skin fits tighter, but the feed is still running. This time, it's showing you. Reading this, breathing heavier, feeling your face in ways you didn't yesterday, wondering why your fingers twitched on the last paragraph, wondering why the reflection in your screen is just a half second behind. You've reached the end. You finished the transfer. You're the host now. The face is already forming. They'll be there soon to peel the rest. You already know the rule. Do not look away. But it's too late. Because when you blink again, you won't open your own eyes. I downloaded GPS from the dark web hat, keeps directing me to a town that doesn't exist. When I finally found it, everyone there knew my name. Alright, so I don't even know how to start this, but I need to get it out while it's still fresh. And maybe, just maybe, someone out there will know what the hell happened to me. This isn't a creepypasta. It's not made up. I'm not trying to get clout, followers, likes, whatever. I just need someone to hear me out because I seriously feel like I'm losing my mind. My name's Tyler. I'm 23. I live just outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in this super quiet neighborhood that backs into a wooded area. Nothing crazy. Pretty normal stuff. I work remotely doing some dumb back-end dev stuff for a small company. Boring, but it pays the bills. I game a lot, hang out on Reddit, stream occasionally, and yeah, I've always been that guy who likes creepy YouTube stories. You know, those dark web gone wrong animations, or stories where someone buys a cursed mirror off Craigslist or some haunted doll from Facebook Marketplace. So, I guess I thought I was untouchable. Like that stuff happens to other people. Not me. Not real. Until it did. So this all started a few weeks ago. It was a Thursday night, like 2 a.m., and I was just scrolling TikTok in bed with that dead-eye zombie stare. I got bored and switched over to Reddit, looking through r/deep into YouTube and eventually r/deep web. You know how the rabbit hole goes. I came across this post that barely had any upvotes, titled, "Found this GPS that shows places Google Maps doesn't. Used it, and I regret everything I clicked it, thinking it was just another ARG or something." The post didn't have much, just a sketchy download link, a screenshot of an old school looking GPS interface, like early 2000s TomTom vibes, and a weird warning that read, "Not for surface web users." This shows paths meant to be hidden, I know. Dumb. But I was bored, curious, and yeah, I downloaded it. Not from the App Store or anything, obviously. It was a standalone APK file for Android. I had to allow third-party apps, disable Google Play Protect, all that crap. Red flags everywhere. But I didn't care. The app installed without a name, just a black icon with this weird compass logo in red. When I opened it, my phone glitched for like half a second, screen flickered, then it loaded up this bare bones GPS layout. Very analog feeling, grainy resolution, almost VHS style. The only button was enable location. I tapped it. It buzzed, and a mechanical voice, not Siri, not Google, kinda staticky, said, "Coordinates acquired. Welcome back, Tyler." I froze. I hadn't signed in. I hadn't entered my name anywhere. At first, I laughed it off. Okay, haha, creepy. Good prank. I figured it pulled my name from my phone metadata or something, like some kind of techie Easter egg. But then it loaded a map I didn't recognize. There were roads, but the names were weird, like Latin sounding. No cities marked, just this red arrow pulsing near my real location, and a black dot about 3 hours away labeled Durwood. Never heard of it. Googled it. Nothing. Checked Google Maps. Zip. Closest thing I found was a random Reddit thread from 2016 asking if anyone had heard of Durwood. It had 0 replies and 1 upvote. I swear, I should have deleted the app right there. But I didn't. The next few days were normal, except for one thing. Every time I left my house, like to go get coffee at Starbucks, or hit the gym, or even when I drove to my parents' place, the GPS app would launch by itself and whisper, "Rerouting." to Durwood. Every damn time. Like, it didn't matter what other GPS I was using. Waze, Google Maps. It would just take over. It didn't show up as running in the background either. It just overrode everything. At one point, I was literally in a Taco Bell drive-thru, ordering a cheesy gordita crunch, and the drive-thru screen flashed. Turn left for Durwood. The staff inside said nothing, like they didn't see it. I asked the dude at the window, and he just looked at me blankly, like I was speaking another language. I don't know why, but the more it happened, the more I felt this pull, like something was compelling me to follow the route. So last weekend, I did. Saturday morning, I packed up a couple drinks, snacks, and hit the road around 8 a.m. I didn't tell anyone where I was going, just said I needed some time off-grid. I plugged in the route to Durwood. My real GPS refused to acknowledge it existed, but the Black Compass app gave a clear route. 3 hours, no traffic, no tolls, easy. Except it wasn't. About an hour in, the road started getting less maintained. Cracked asphalt, no street signs. My Spotify stopped working, no signal bars, not even one X, just no service. But the GPS still working perfectly, even more precise than before. At one point, I passed an old abandoned gas station. You know the type. Rusted pumps, broken windows, a sun-faded Pepsi machine out front. I pulled over to pee and noticed the station's sign overhead. Durwood Welcome Fuel. No prices, no branding, just that. I got chills. But again, I didn't turn back. It was around 11:40 a.m. when I hit the woods. The road narrowed to a one-lane gravel path, trees looming overhead like they were bending toward me. Every now and then, I saw old wooden signs nailed to trees. Keep going. You're almost home. We've missed you, Tyler. I wish I was kidding. I kept asking myself, why am I still driving? I felt like I couldn't stop, like something would happen if I did. Then finally, after what felt like forever, I saw it. Durwood, the town emerged like it had been cut out of time. Think Pleasantville meets Silent Hill. Everything was a little too clean, too perfect, like a movie set that had been abandoned mid-shoot. There were people walking around, normal-looking people. A man in a brown suit waved at me. A woman in a sundress smiled, holding a basket of what looked like fresh strawberries. Kids rode bikes down the sidewalk. But here's the part that messed me up the most. They all knew my name. Like, not just some of them. Every single person I passed either waved and said, "Good to see you again, Tyler," or "We've been waiting," or "Welcome back." I parked near what looked like a local McDonald's, except the M was backwards, and inside, everything was made of wood. Wooden chairs, wooden trays, even the Happy Meal boxes were carved wood with hand-drawn smiley faces. A man behind the counter leaned in and said, "You're late." "She's waiting." I asked him, "Who?" He just pointed outside, and when I turned, there she was, a girl, maybe mid-20s, wearing a red hoodie, pale skin, jet black hair, standing completely still on the edge of the road, staring straight at me, and smiling. She raised her hand slowly, and made a motion like, "Come here." And that's when I noticed something. She was holding my phone, the same cracked screen, same lock screen, everything. But my phone was in my pocket. Because once I followed her, things got real. When I saw her standing there, still as a mannequin, that same hollow smile carved into her face, every instinct I had screamed, "Don't move." But she was holding my phone, the same cracked screen protector, the same fingerprint smudge in the corner. And yet, when I reached into my pocket, It was still there. Warm. Real. She tilted her head slightly. That slow, mechanical tilt that people do in horror movies. But this wasn't a movie. I swear her neck made a faint clicking sound, like a camera shutter trying to focus. Then, as if on cue, my phone buzzed. Incoming route. Follow her. The same distorted voice from before. The compass icon spun, and the arrow pointed directly at her, and she turned, walking slowly down the street, without saying a word. Durwood was quiet in the wrong way. Not like a small town quiet, more like the air was being filtered, muffled. Every footstep felt heavier than it should have. Every breath echoed like I was inside a hollow shell pretending to be a town. People were still moving about, but when I looked at them too long, their faces blurred slightly, like their features weren't finished rendering. From a distance, they looked normal, laughing, talking, but up close, their eyes didn't blink in sync. Some smiled a second too late after speaking, and every single one of them glanced at me like they'd been waiting for me to pass by. Morning, Tyler. We prepared your place. You came back just in time. They said it casually, like it was a fact. I followed the girl past what looked like a Starbucks, but it wasn't. Same logo, except the mermaid was missing her face, just a white oval where it should have been. Inside, through the glass, people sat at tables stirring empty cups. Not coffee, just empty cups. But they stirred them anyway, over and over, like it was some routine they couldn't stop. She led me down a side street that wasn't on the map. I checked my phone again. It showed no signal, just coordinates constantly shifting by fractions of numbers. The street name on a nearby sign read Memory Lane. No joke. But all the letters were carved into wood, handmade, imperfect, freshly painted red. As we walked, I realized something. Every house we passed looked vaguely familiar. Not identical, but familiar enough. Like echoes of houses I'd seen in my own life. My childhood home, my neighbor's porch, my grandpa's old shed. And then I saw one that made me stop cold. It was my house. Same siding, same porch, light crack, same dent in the mailbox. Except, it wasn't supposed to be here. I was 3 hours away from Pittsburgh. The girl stopped and turned to me, smiling wider now. You're home. I don't know why, but my brain started to buzz, like static was crawling through it. I looked at the house, then at her. Who are you? I finally asked. She didn't answer. She just pointed at the door. I looked at my phone again. The screen was flickering between the compass and a text notification from unknown. You left without saying goodbye. I hadn't texted anyone that day. When I looked back up, the girl was gone. The air felt colder suddenly, like the entire town exhaled at once. I walked up to the door, heart hammering so hard I could feel it in my ears. The doorknob was warm, warmer than it should have been. Inside, everything looked exactly like my real house, down to the photo of me and my sister on the mantel, except her face was scratched out. I stepped further in. The floorboards creaked, not under my weight, but ahead of me, like someone was walking backward, leading me deeper. The lights flickered. Then my phone buzzed again. Upstairs. I didn't want to. Every instinct said run. But curiosity? It's a poison. It's the worst kind of bravery. The staircase was dimly lit by what looked like natural daylight leaking through the blinds. Except it wasn't daylight. It was pulsing, like it had a heartbeat. When I reached the top, the hallway was lined with doors. 7 of them. I only have 3 in my actual house. Each one had a little white tag, handwritten in black ink, 2022, 2023, 2025, all years from my life. I picked one, 2010, and slowly pushed it open. It was my middle school bedroom, posters on the walls, Xbox 360 on the floor, even that stupid lava lamp I broke years ago, perfectly intact and glowing. Then I heard a whisper behind me. "Don't wake him yet." I turned around so fast, I nearly tripped over the carpet. No one there, but on the bed, there was someone, a boy, maybe 10 or 11. He looked exactly like me, sleeping, peacefully. I backed out shaking. My throat felt tight. I opened the next door, 2020. Inside was a recreation of my old college apartment. Laptop open, half-empty Monster can beside it. Except the screen was on, even though I hadn't touched it. It showed a live stream of me, right then, standing in that hallway. And behind me, in the stream, the girl in the red hoodie was smiling. That's when the sound started. It wasn't footsteps this time. It was whispering. From every door, soft at first, like someone humming a lullaby underwater. Then words began to form, overlapping, warped, echoing through the walls. Stay. Stay. The lights dimmed. The temperature dropped. My phone vibrated again and again until I finally looked at it. It wasn't a GPS anymore. It was the camera app, except the front camera was already on. And behind me, I saw dozens of faces peering out from the slightly open doors, all smiling, all versions of me. The last thing I remember clearly was the girl's voice, whispering right next to my ear. "We've been updating Durwood just for you." Then, black. When I came to, it was morning. I was in my car, parked on a dirt road, phone dead, no signal, no sign of the town anywhere. I drove home in silence. When I finally got there, my real phone powered back on like nothing had happened, except when I opened Google Maps. There was a new saved place I didn't add. Durwood, home. And I swear, if I turn the GPS on, even for a second, I can still hear it whisper, "Rerouting. Welcome back, Tyler." The weirdest part wasn't the fact that I drove home 3 hours with no memory of how I got back. It wasn't even the fact that I kept hearing that mechanical voice whispering, "Rerouting," every time I passed a traffic light, even though my phone was on airplane mode and the GPS app was deleted. Number. The part that made me realize something was seriously, fundamentally wrong was the live stream, because it was still going, and it was live. I woke up Sunday morning around 11 a.m. I had fallen asleep in my desk chair, which is something I never do. I'm one of those people who needs blackout curtains, a fan on full blast, a pillow in a very specific alignment, or I can't even rest. But this time, I don't remember sitting down. 1 second, I was brushing my teeth in the mirror, thinking about what I saw in Durwood. And the next, I was in my room, with the blinds pulled shut, and the laptop screen glowing white, like it had been on all night. That should have been weird enough, but the part that froze me in my chair was what was playing on the screen. It was me, in Durwood, live. The browser had no tabs, no URL bar, no controls, just the video, full screen. And there I was, walking down that same crooked main road I saw the day before. Same buildings, same fake Starbucks, same red banners flapping gently in wind that didn't seem to move anything else. Except I wasn't controlling it. I wasn't filming it. I was watching it. And it was me. Same clothes, same tattoo on my wrist, same busted sneakers. Just casually walking like I lived there. Then the figure in the stream turned to face the camera, dead in the center of the screen. eye contact, and smiled. "You left," he said. "We didn't." Then it glitched. Screen flickered. The audio warped like an old VHS, and the live stream changed angles. Now it was inside a diner. Still Durwood. My double was sitting in a booth, eating something red off a plate. Slowly, methodically, and all around him were other versions of me. Dozens. Young, old, in different clothes. One of them in a hospital gown, another wearing my graduation hoodie from 2019. All smiling, all eating. I slammed the laptop shut so hard the screen cracked down the middle. I tried to convince myself I was still dreaming. Or maybe I'd fallen into some kind of fugue state. But that's when the notifications started. Not texts, not emails, live comment pop-ups, like a streaming platform, Twitch style. They were floating on my phone screen. No app open, just appearing and fading. Durwood broadcast. "Welcome back, Tyler." Watcher. 4. Love this timeline. He looks so scared. Other U108. He's about to check the mirror. Classic red hoodie. 87. I'll be there soon. I didn't know what to do. I factory reset the phone. I took the SIM out. I powered it off, wrapped it in aluminum foil, shoved it in a metal toolbox under my bed, like that would somehow matter. Didn't matter, because the mirrors started flickering. The first one was in my bathroom. I was brushing my teeth, trying to keep it together, repeating that dumb therapist trick of grounding myself. Name 5 things I can see, 4 I can touch, 3 I can hear. And in the corner of the mirror, for maybe half a second, I saw a face behind me, but not mine. It was wrong. Same skin tone, same basic face, but its eyes were completely black. Not hollow, not missing, just black. Like someone filled them in with ink. And it was smiling, but not like a person smiles. More like it was learning how to smile by watching other people do it. I spun around. Nothing. Turned back. Now my own reflection didn't match what I was doing. I raised my hand. It was already up. I blinked. It didn't. It just stared and mouthed something. I swear on everything I know, it mouthed. She's inside now. After that, I took every mirror in my apartment down. Didn't matter. My TV started turning on by itself. Every screen, TV, laptop, phone, began showing different rooms of my apartment, but in black and white. Security cam footage. Except, I don't have security cameras, and sometimes I'd see myself, sleeping, sitting, walking. Other times, I'd see her, the girl in the red hoodie, standing just outside the frame, watching me. And the worst part? Sometimes the footage wasn't of my current apartment. Sometimes it was my childhood home, the house my parents sold 6 years ago. In one of them, she was standing in the corner of my old bedroom, behind my bunk bed, holding something in her hand. It was my baby tooth, still bloody. I tried going to the police, drove 2 towns over to make sure I was far enough from Durwood or anything connected to it. Told them someone hacked my devices, was stalking me, maybe connected to the dark web. They ran my information. Then the officer gave me a look I'll never forget. "Sir," he said, reading off his screen, "you've been reported missing since 2020. I'm 23. I was at work yesterday. I filed taxes this year. I showed him my license, my bank app, my Instagram, everything. He didn't argue. He didn't even blink. He just turned his screen around. And there I was, on a missing persons poster, filed by my parents, last seen entering a town called Durwood, Pennsylvania. Except, Durwood doesn't exist on any map. I checked. He checked. His exact words were, This file is sealed. I'm not even supposed to be seeing it. Then he whispered something even worse. This isn't the first time someone's come in talking about Durwood. That night, back in my apartment, everything was off. My clothes in the closet weren't the ones I remembered hanging. The photos on the wall had slightly different versions of me. My birthmark was on the wrong side of my face in one of them, and my neighbors weren't my neighbors. I knocked on Miss Grant's door, the sweet old lady next door who always walked her pug in a pink sweater. The door creaked open. No dog, no Miss Grant, just a man in a butcher's apron, eyes covered in gauze, smiling way too wide. "Welcome back, Tyler," he said. "Room's ready downstairs." I ran. I haven't slept in 32 hours. The stream? It's still going. And now it's showing my apartment. But not me. It's showing the girl in the red hoodie, sitting on my couch, waiting. Every once in a while, she looks up, like she knows I'm watching. And now the chat says things like, "It's almost time." This version lasted longer than the last one. Let's see what he does when she knocks. And then I heard it. 3 knocks from my front door. Soft, deliberate, in rhythm. Knock, knock, knock. Then my phone, even though it's still in the toolbox, powered itself on, lit up the room, and displayed one final message. Rerouting to Durwood. Final destination. Home. Opening door in 3, 2. It didn't open like a normal door. There wasn't a creak, no dramatic slam. It just unfolded, like paper tearing itself open from the center of the wood. And the worst part, I didn't run. I couldn't. I was frozen in place, like my own nervous system got overwritten by something watching me, through me. There was no hallway behind the door anymore. There was just black. Not darkness. Black. The kind of black that swallows light. My apartment's overhead lights just vanished at the threshold. Gone. Like light refused to enter whatever that was. And from the black, she stepped out. She moved wrong. Not glitchy like a demon in some fake TikTok horror short. Not floaty or spooky. Just wrong. Her limbs had weight. Her feet touched the floor. But every motion was too calculated, like every movement was choreographed 1,000 times before she ever made it. She was still in the red hoodie, pulled tight around her face. But now, it was stained. Not with blood, with fingerprints. Hundreds of black, greasy handprints smudged across the fabric in all different directions. Some small, some huge, some with too many fingers. All of them looked like they were trying to hold her in, and she was smiling, but not at me. At everything, like she knew something I wasn't supposed to understand. Then she spoke. "You're late, Tyler. The others are already waiting." And behind her, in the black, footsteps. Thousands. I slammed the door shut and locked it. Then I locked it again and dragged my dresser in front of it. But it didn't matter, because the walls were melting. The wallpaper peeled itself, like skin curling from heat. Underneath, not drywall, not plaster. Underneath was dirt, like I had just built this apartment on top of a grave. And from that dirt, tiny things started crawling out. Not bugs, not animals. Fingers, just fingers. All sizes, dirty, wrinkled, twitching, crawling along my floors like pale spiders, tapping against the wood with cracked nails. I ran to the bathroom, locked the door, tried to call someone, anyone, but my phone was gone. I didn't misplace it. It had been inside that toolbox under my bed. I sealed it. Now, it was embedded inside the bathroom mirror, pressed between the glass like a fossil in amber, still glowing, still vibrating. and it was live streaming again. This time, it was me, in the bathroom, being watched, and the chat was back. Other me, 88. Look at his hands. He's changing a red hoodie. 87. Tell him what he did. Make him remember. Durwood_admin. Phase 4. Sync initiated. : You should never have left us. Then the mirror began bleeding. The first drip started in the top corner. A slow, black ooze, thick like molasses, but full of static. I don't know how else to explain it. It crackled when it moved. Then words started to appear on the mirror in the ooze. Open the door, or we'll open you. I backed away. I started screaming. Not like movie screaming. The kind where your voice dies halfway up your throat, and all that comes out is a dry, panicked rasp. That's when the whispers started again. Same as the ones I heard in Durwood behind the doors. Only now they were louder, closer, right outside the bathroom door. And then they said it. The thing I've tried to forget for the last 10 years. Tell us about the basement, Tyler. I dropped to the floor because I remembered when I was 13, my best friend Micah disappeared. Everyone thought he ran away. His parents were fighting. His grades were slipping. The cops didn't try very hard. They found his bike in the woods behind my house, leaning against a dead tree. No one ever found him, but I know what happened, because Micah never went missing in the woods. He came to my house the night he vanished, and we went to the basement. We had this stupid game we used to play, blackout hide and seek. We'd kill the lights, turn off our phones, and try to find each other in the dark. No talking, no sound, just pure darkness. Only that night, someone else was in the basement with us. Not a person, not an animal, just a shape. Micah screamed once, and then the light bulb exploded when I finally found the courage to run upstairs and turn the power back on. Micah was gone. No blood, no signs of struggle, just his shoes placed perfectly in the center of the basement floor, and in their place, a red hoodie. I never told anyone, not even the cops. I said I hadn't seen him that night. I even helped hang posters, but I knew. And now, so did they. The bathroom walls began warping like wet paper. The floor started cracking open, and I saw it. The same basement, not a hallucination. It was literally tearing its way into my bathroom, replacing it. Same concrete walls, same water-damaged ceiling tiles, and in the center, Micah's shoes, still perfectly placed, still untouched, and next to them, a second pair, mine, old, dirt-stained. From middle school, the light flickered once, then a third pair appeared, then a fourth, hundreds, stacked on top of each other, all sizes, all worn, all positioned in the exact same way. A voice echoed from below. Every version of you has to pay. I couldn't breathe. I ran, out of the bathroom, out of the apartment, down the stairs, through the hallway. But everything outside was wrong. I'd stepped out into Durwood again. It followed me, or I followed it. I don't know anymore. The sky wasn't a sky. It was just a ceiling painted to look like one, flickering in places, fake clouds projected onto it, like some abandoned Disney ride. The buildings were hollow, windows painted on, people standing still, like mannequins, their faces blank, until I looked away. Then they would whisper, "We gave you a place. We gave you a self. Why did you leave?" A street sign flickered into existence beside me. It said, "Tyler's last chance," then turned into rerouting, then end of simulation. That's where I am now, typing this from a public library 2 towns over, or at least I think it's a library. The books are all blank inside. I haven't slept. I haven't eaten. And I know I'm not me anymore. Because when I looked into the mirror in the men's bathroom here, my reflection didn't follow me. It just watched. And it was smiling, holding a phone, streaming. I don't remember how long I've been writing this. My hands don't feel like mine anymore. They shake even when I'm still. There's this faint static in the air, like the sound a TV used to make when it hit dead signal. But it's inside my ears now. Constant whispering in a pitch I can't fully hear, but my body understands. The kind of sound that bypasses your thoughts and goes straight to your spine. They said I had escaped. They lied, because Durwood was never a town. It was never a GPS error. It was never a location on Earth. It was a folder, a system folder. It started this morning. I went to a public library 3 towns over, again, trying to find some trace of myself online. My socials were still there, but altered. Same username, same profile pic. But the content, not mine. Videos of me doing things I've never done, saying things I've never said, wearing clothes I've never owned. One clip showed me standing in the middle of a Target parking lot, staring up at a completely black sky, surrounded by people who all looked like me. Another video was labeled Tyler, Final Reset, but it had no thumbnail. When I tried to play it, it didn't buffer. It just injected a ZIP file into the browser. I couldn't cancel it, couldn't pause it. Just a small download called Durwood_OS do not open. I shouldn't have opened it, but I did. It didn't install an app. It didn't show a folder. It didn't even appear on my desktop. But it was there, behind everything, like a second operating system installed under mine. Suddenly, my keyboard stopped responding. My screen flickered. Every file I tried to open was replaced with videos of me. Different versions. One screaming in a padded room. One being dragged backward through an empty Walmart by invisible hands. One sitting in a chair, whispering the same word over and over again. Don't upload. Then the lights in the library went out. When they came back on, I wasn't in the library anymore. I was in a room. White walls, no windows, no door. Just a screen on the far wall, playing footage of my life on loop. Not just real memories, deleted ones, stuff I'd forgotten. Like the time I almost drowned at age 4. Or when I stood at my grandpa's funeral and thought, for a second, how funny it would be if he sat up mid-service. Even the time in high school when I sat in my room for 9 hours and imagined every person I'd ever known slowly vanishing, one by one, until I was the only thing left. And in every clip, I was wearing that red hoodie. The wall opened, not a door, just the wall itself unzipping like skin peeled back, and through it walked him, me, older, gaunt, sunken cheeks, nails blackened, wearing the red hoodie like a second layer of skin, eyes completely colorless. He sat across from me. No words. Then he leaned forward and whispered something so low it felt like it was being downloaded directly into my head. You were uploaded 5 years ago. I didn't understand. I kept shaking my head. Then the wall behind him lit up. A loading screen. Durwood simulation. Subject. Tyler number 0161. Status. Active cycle. 132. Stability. Deteriorating. Observer views. 3,982,100. Engagement. 94%. Recommend. Termination. Y or N. I tried to scream. Couldn't. My mouth was gone. He stood up, walked behind me, and placed something in my lap. A laptop. The same one I had, with a blinking cursor on a black screen. A single command prompt flashing. Would you like to exit the simulation? I didn't type anything. My hands weren't mine anymore. But the prompt changed anyway. You can't exit a file you were never outside of. Durwood is not a place. It's not even a program. It's a container for consciousness, for forgotten people, unwanted identities, discarded versions of us, copies that glitch too hard to stay in the real world. It finds you when you try to disappear. It scans the web for broken digital trails, dead social accounts, unupdated apps, deleted metadata, and then it builds a version of you based on the fragments left behind. It downloads you, and you wake up thinking you're real. You live a copy of a life you used to have, until the system finishes its data sync, and then it reroutes you back to where all the others go. I don't know if this is even being posted. Maybe this is just another loop, another performance for whoever's watching, because I can see the chat window in the corner of my eye again, and this time it says, "You are now live." Durwood broadcast outreach loop number 133. Say goodbye, Tyler. And just now, I heard the voice again, the girl's voice. Only this time, she's whispering inside my head, not like a thought, like code, like something rewriting me as I type this. She said, "They don't understand, Tyler. You were never the one telling the story. You're just the recording." And the last thing she said before everything froze, "You were the download link all along.